there are some homes that are left standing in some of those areas, so it'd be very interesting to go back into those areas and see what homes are standing, if there are particular reasons why. So having space, other factors to contribute to that. Those are all things we're going to be watching for. Very interested in learning from this event. We think that the footage that we're seeing in terms of the evacuations in LA is also very interesting. What we're seeing generally is injuries happening either on foot. Injuries to my eyebrows. I personally, friend of a friend was trampled, had a broken foot. There are a lot of injuries that occur if you're evacuating on foot, so we still advise evacuating in a car is safer. That said, I think that the LA fires, 2017 fires, and all of these fires from the conflagrations that affect urban and suburban areas, it's all telling us that we in Marin are on the right track. You voters, put your money where your mouth is on wildfire prevention. We as the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority and our fabulous partners like Southern Fire and others are doing the hard work to make our community more resilient. We're taking a holistic, big picture approach. No one tool is the answer. Shaded fuel breaks are not the only answer out there. We take a house-out approach where we work on home hardening, defensible space, inspections of these homes. We put, around $8 million this year alone towards home hardening and defensible space and inspections and those kind of programs that support those kinds of activities. We've got a chipper program that we're spending about $1.5 million on right now. We've serviced around 4,700 residents this year doing the hard work with their defensible space. We've got home inspections around 30,000 or so that happened this year alone. Nobody is doing this work at this scale except for us. I was talking with several other counties yesterday. Their jaws were on the floor listening to what they're doing here in Marin. We've got about $800,000 or $900,000 going out to residents this year for home hardening and defensible space type activities to make their homes more ember resistant in their yards. We've got a lot going on. Plus, we have shaded fuel breaks as one tool in the toolbox for wildfire prevention. We also put a lot of funds towards partners who do public education, Fire Safe Marin, getting the word out, making sure that residents know what to do, know how to pack a go bag, know how to evacuate safely. If you haven't looked at the evacuation video online that Mark Brown, our fabulous executive officer, did with Fire Safe Marin, please do take a look at that. It's really informative. That's one question I have in LA. How many of those residents in those communities were aware of the fire danger at that time? So with that said, we are taking a big picture approach in Marin, and I think we're much better set up to handle ignitions than pretty much any other community in California right now. So again, thank you to all the voters in Marin who supported emergency previously. Keep an eye out for future ballot measures, because at some point that will sunset and we'll need to think about what the next chapter holds. So today, I want to take a moment, introduce the partners who've been part of this effort, and very, very briefly, go around this group of people. We have a lot of experts, a lot of very knowledgeable people on the other side of the street from me with a lot of expertise to share. So we'll go around just saying name and affiliation. If you don't have an affiliation, maybe if you're a resident in this neighborhood or somewhere in Marin, we work here. So first, let's introduce these folks here. And I'm going to ask Belle to say a couple words about her group. So I spent a lot of time as a field biologist working on restoration projects, salmonid restoration, etc., ecological stewardship, looking at these landscapes in a more holistic way to steward them more responsibly is near and dear to my heart, and our partnerships with our environmental communities are really important to me. So let's go around
specialists get together and create and craft a set of practices that affect vegetation management, carbon removal, carbon resources, and also defensible space. And they guide us and they guide NWPA, and we're pleased with that. But we also bring expertise to bear, and we are very pleased to be part of this. I just wanted to say that we have events, and we had marvelous events this week, actually, with Anne and Jacob. And they talked about, it was really good, it really talked about the whole question of being able to gather data in a 17 jurisdictions, and also to gather the data and to put together a monitoring system that we've been looking for. And our next meeting is going to be on February 11th, and it's going to be about biodiversity from some really expert people, so I hope to have you come. And thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Madison Mead. I'm from Southern Wildfire District. I am one of the vegetation management specialists, and I am the lead on the Ring Mountain project. So we're really happy everybody came out today, and we're looking forward to diving in. And that's all for now.
My name is Austin Johnson. I also work for Southern Wildfire, vegetation management specialist. I also assist as supervisors for the NWPA's space program. So definitely welcome those questions today as well. We have some coworkers and partner agencies that do that as well. But we'll keep passing it along. I know we do a lot of talking today. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Jim Chaka, I'm a superintendent with Marin County Parks. We're really grateful to be here. We collaborate with all of the fire partners throughout the county and with the MWP on these regional projects. And we as a department have 18,000 acres and around 3,500 neighbors. I know the theme that Ann was touching on is really about our safety of our neighbors, but we also are interested in protecting and preserving all of our plant and wildlife neighbors too. And so that is something that we all really work closely on, is developing multiple benefit projects that protect humans and protect our native and rare species. And so Amanda Magalanes, I just want to introduce her to everyone. She's our Ring Mountain Stewardship Coordinator. She focuses exclusively on this preserve that's up here. We have so many, I could go on a long time about how special of a place this is, but there's a lot of staff attention that is spent on that particular preserve. And Luke Bishop, who's also here, who's one of our biodiversity and fuels management coordinators. We just have a lot of folks that are working closely with all of our partners on these projects to make sure that they're successful for multiple objectives. So thanks for having us here.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Dadnan. I'm a vegetation management specialist with Marin Wildfire. I help run our data collection and monitoring programs. And if you haven't signed in yet, please find me after we break up into groups.
My name is Richard Wiesner. I'm one of 5 board members at an HOA called Meadow Creek Station. We have 148 homeowners on 21 acres. I chair the landscape committee. This mountain is very important to me, and it also affects all of our insurance premiums. That's why I'm here.
I'm Alan. I'm a neighbor, and I work with Richard on the board of Meadow Creek Station.
Howdy, I'm Calvin Trotter with the City of Santa Fe Fire Department. I run our open space management program.
Eric Clothier, resident right over the hill here.
Raul Garcia, Forster and Krager. We are the landscape company who's providing all the vegetation.
Hi, Kate Medlock. I live environmental. We are the CEQA consultant for Marin Wildfire.
Hi, Garcia, fire supervisor from Boston and Krager.
Kathleen Cutter, defensible space lead for much of Marin for Marin Wildfire.
Bridget Borba, Southern Wildfire Defensible Space.
Adam Wolf, town manager, town of Puerto Madera. Also serve on the ops committee for NWPA.
Jessica Heiss, fire station Marin, community outreach manager. Scott Farley. Charleston officer. I'm part of Fire Foundry. Maylin Jimenez, and I'm a Fire Foundry intern. Sarah LaFazia, and I'm a Fire Foundry
resident on the other side of the hill starting a Firewise neighborhood.
I'm Colin Crawford, resident in the Del Mar neighborhood, where I'm also a board member of the Del Mar Neighborhood Association.
I'm Jim Andrews. I'm from Puerto Madera. I'm on their town council.
Good morning, I'm Jen Gauna. I'm with Fire Safety Win. We do education and outreach on behalf of Marin Wildfire.
I'm Andrew Thompson, former mayor and councilman here in Tiburon, and I also live just over here. And I was really looking for a robust hike up to the top of the mountain today. So afterwards, anybody wants to join me, I'm going up to the top and having to tell you a bunch of fun history.
We'll send you on a self-guided tour.
I'm Julie McMillan. I'm on the Crosstown Council and also on the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority board.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi, I'm Zoe Brown. I'm a Redlands resident along the Stairs. I want to thank you for doing this morning very much.
I'm Craig Casisa. I'm a Puerto Madera Town Council member and also former board member of Marin Wildfire.
Mary Jones, live in Puerto Madera. I'm also surrounded by parkland and open space and scary.
I'm Alan Edmondson. I'm a citizen volunteer with the Terrain Climate and Citizen Climate Lab.
David Ego, I'm a resident of Puerto Madera and I've back up to Vermont.
Hi, I'm Eric Shoes. I work for Eco Plant Services and also some Ecology Center. Just generally interested. I used to work for Marin County Parks. Green Mountain's got a spot in my heart, so seeing the ecological, like multi-benefit approach to land stewardship brings me out to that.
I'm Katie McGee. I'm a Mariner Cove resident, East Puerto Madera.
I'm short. I'm Catherine Hilliard. I'm on the board of Southern Marin Fire District. Very proud of our work, and also on the board of Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, and truly proud of our work. So thank you all for coming.
I'm Barbara Snyder. I'm in Mariner Cove and I'm a board member of the NRG.
I'm Robert Miller. I'm a member of the board of the Conservation League. When it comes to wildfire prevention, we advocate for humans and for funds.
I'm Meg McNabe with Fire Safety Win.
I'm Dave Long. I'm the president of Native Plant Society.
I'm Maddie Morgan. I'm the HOA president for Madera del Presidio, which backs up to Green Mountain tonight. Very interested in your day, and I'm also the NRG coordinator and fireworks coordinator.
I'm Ken Roll. I live right there. Thanks for doing all the work.
My name is Ted Briggs. I work for Marin Wildfire as a vegetation management specialist. Thanks for coming today.
I'm Ann Shores. I'm a Puerto Madera resident. I'm the co-chair of the NRG advisory group and on the search steering committee and Madera Gardens NRG.
And I live 1 second over next to the water tank.
Hi everybody, I'm Bill Payne. I'm owner-operator of Golden Gate Tree Care. I was fortunate enough to be early days. We're doing one of the first shaded fuel breaks in San Rafael with Mr. Calvin Schrader over here and Kate Anderson, who's not here. Very interested in wildfire protection. We do a lot of fuel reduction projects right now. I live over in Mill Valley, and obviously wildfire, anything around the wildfire protection is super important when you start getting into those smaller canyons. So, thank you.
Well, I started off, but I'll introduce myself again if there's any stragglers. My name is Marshall now. I'm the Deputy Fire Marshal for Southern Marin Fire District. I'm also an ATC rep from the City of Mill Valley for the Marin Wildfire Protection Authority. And I just want to take a second just because for all the residents, whether you're affiliated with an agency or group or Firewise community or not, if you're a Marin County resident and you're here today with us, that makes a huge difference because community house out approach is the primary, but eventually we do need our community members to get out and volunteer and get involved. And if it wasn't for you showing up here today, it'd just be a bunch of officials all standing talking to each other, and we do that all the time already, so it's really important for the community to come out and engage and be involved, and all you residents, wherever you can go back to Marin County, your ambassador, you can go back and share some information, hope for the next meeting we get more residents out and more engagement in the community, so thank you.
So as you can see, there are a lot of experts and knowledgeable folks all around this circle. So I want to encourage everybody, as I'm going to hand this off to Southern Marin Fire folks to lead the remainder of this field trip. This is a dialogue, not a monologue. So we encourage lots of questions, comments, observations. Please do pipe up at any time, because we love to have a conversation. Neither of us really want to do a monologue for the next hour. So please do take part in this conversation.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming out. We really, really appreciate the time you took today. We have our heart and soul in these projects. We really believe in them, and we appreciate seeing so many people feel the same way. Like Ann said, we really want this to be more of a conversational piece, learning aspect to be able to have a conversation. We do have a particular set of topics that we want to talk about, but we really want this to be able to be kind of more of a discussion, and you guys ask us questions that you're particularly interested in. So just to start, we chose this section, we chose Ring Mountain because it really is the most accessible project that we have. It appeals to the masses in regards to being able to actually go out and explore it. Most of our perimeter fuel breaks are in very hard to reach canyons, they're dead ends, they're narrow roads, they're very steep slopes. I personally will say I'm rough and tumbling all the time, so we didn't want to bring everyone up to those guys. But the work that you don't see is also being done. Please rest assured we have an entire perimeter of fuel breaks around our entire community, and likewise for the rest of the county. So a couple things we just really wanted to talk about for Ring Mountain in particular is that we really took an organic approach here. Like I said, I've been lead on this project. We started this in 2022, so we're well over 2 years into this project, and a really, really focused approach has been to be as organic as possible with this. We're not coming in with a bunch of heavy equipment. We're not coming in with a bunch of herbicide, especially given, like Jim said, that the Ring Mountain is such a special preserve here. We find rare plant species that do not grow anywhere else in the world. We are not the ones that want to be the force that changes that. We try to do everything we can to keep that stewardship and organic approach. So we've actually been able to be really successful with this HOA here in Indian Rock to really counteract our work. So if we come in once a year, they go in once a year, we're able to fill in those gaps. And we have some videos on our iPad here we can show you guys. We have some pictures that went around before we did any work that had established 8-foot tall broom groves. These broom's going to put out 2.5 flame lengths. So we're looking at 25-foot tall flame lengths in some of these areas if there was a start. It's not something that we ever want to see. We're able to go in, we've removed everything, and we've been continually going in with hand treatments, with forestry and Kroger, painstakingly picking everything that we can to keep this as clean and as organic as possible. So it really is a win for us and for MWPA, and we wanted to highlight that today. A couple other things that we're going to be seeing, you'll be seeing some jute netting that we put down. Well, that's not really, erosion's really not an issue here for Ring Mountain per se. Compared to some other projects that we have, we did still want to highlight all of our erosion measures and what we do to try and, again, organically approach it. So, sorry guys. Another thing that we really wanted to hammer in is that, our restoration efforts are very, very important to us. It is a priority. In these areas, again, kind of like we all can observe, this is mostly grasslands. So what we focus on here in any of our efforts is replanting native grass seeds to be able to keep down that broom bank naturally, to be able to keep down those invasive species so we don't see them continually popping up. Once we go in, we start removing fuel, there's a lot more sunlight, and we see a lot more things growing. So we're trying to stay on top of it. We can go into the rest of the topics as we start the walk, but just to let you guys know, the Strobels were kind enough to let us use their stairs. They have a kind of a terrace that goes down. So we can all start walking down that way. It will give us the opportunity to kind of see from a higher level everything that we're working on. Something I would like to point out is that we are at the end of our district. The rest of Tiburon is not funded by Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, which means that our project stops here. There are going to be places that we can really, really point out where you can see that work was not done. That wasn't a lapse on our part. We simply can't go further. We're working with the town of Tiburon and Tiburon Fire to be able to address those matters, but just for now, before anyone asks, that is the end of our district, so you guys will see some things that maybe weren't working. With that said, Once we get down to the end of the Strobel's house, if anyone's not comfortable going down the rest of the slope, the grass is a little bit, there's moisture in the air today, it's a little slippery. If you have hiking poles, please feel free to use them. If anyone's not comfortable going down, please do not feel like you have to push yourself. We will guide you guys back up and happily answer any questions. Yes?
I just was curious, you're saying that this is the one here, how about on the other side?
So once
How far?
we get down, we can kind of show you a little bit better what the perimeter is. But behind here, so we're seeing actually an HOA privately owned open space, which went up to Town of Hebron and then goes up to Ring Mountain, which is owned by Marin County Park. So we have a couple of maps going around that sort of kind of helps you see that, but once we get out there, we're happy to point that out to you. But like I said, if anyone is not comfortable going further, we're happy to lead you guys back up. We'll have someone, a representative here to answer any questions. And especially with everyone here and with our whole veg team here, we have veg managers and Bridget was awesome enough to come to answer any piece-based questions that you guys have. If you want to sign up for any inspections, if you have any questions about your home hardening, she's definitely the gal to talk to. So we'll bring anyone back up that we need to. Absolutely.
I'm not sure if this just brings up something from your question, does it? If at any point there's a parcel that you think belongs to Marin County Open Space, or you have concerns, or like, hey, there's some issues that I see here today, just grab me or Lou or Amanda, and we can have a side conversation about what your particular concern is and talk about how to address that.
But at any point in time, like I said, if anyone doesn't want to continue, we have representatives here to walk you guys back up and make sure that any of your needs or questions are addressed as well. Like I said, we just really want this to be a conversational piece. Everyone really is on high alert right now with fires in LA. Being from there myself, on a personal note, all of us have really, really strong connections, whether it's to the LA fire or other fires that we have been on or seen the devastation ourselves. I'm from Catalina Island. It's one of the Channel Islands in Southern California. When I was a kid, the entire island burned down in a day. I lost everything that I knew growing up. And then I spent my formative years in LA, which is now the majority also gone as well. So to say that my heart and soul are in these projects is the very least I can go. To say that the rest of our team feels the same exact way. We all have very personal connections to this. So we want you guys to ask any questions that you have, any concerns. We would love to be able to have that FaceTime right now and talk about anything. So with that said, I feel like I've kind of said enough words already, but Austin's been my co-lead on this project, and any questions that you guys have, you can feel free to just ask either one of us.
I'm going to be a disruptor for just a second. We have some folks that are probably going to peel off before we start walking downhill. I am a big fan of a group photo, and I know everybody hates it, but I'm still going to ask them to take a group photo. I think it's great to just kind of record the moment and the enthusiasm to this kind of work. So if you guys don't mind, this is actually a pretty good background. Let's just go for it. Yeah, you're already standing there. There's a little bit of that wall. Board members.
Alright, so I'll get started and then whoever's traveling then we're going to work it out. So we're talking about the house out approach. So we have several zones. Zone 0, which is 0 to 5 feet from the house. Zone 1, that's 5 to 30, and then Zone 2, that goes beyond that 30 feet, either to the property line, or over to that end, or 100 feet is ideal. I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'm also going to talk about slopes, and I said a little bit more than 100 feet. Slope is just a big challenge with that, because we want to account for that. So that's like, 30 feet. We'll put it back. We talk about the home hardening as part of the inspection, so that's essentially the element of the home. So whether it's combustible siding, like the planks, wood shingles, we want to try and encourage, especially for new construction, the hardened portions, so concrete, stucco, things of that nature. And then we also look at decks. That's an extension of the house with combustible decks, such as this one. We want to try and point out how this one is very well maintained underneath it. A lot of people either have vegetation or leaf that accumulated in it. So quick, flashy fuels goes off into the ember shower and travels very far. They can accumulate roots if we have something like that. That's pretty nice at home, it's pretty nice at deck, now attached to the house. So if you notice, they do a great job here, especially with the rock bed around the house. We definitely are a big fan of that. One thing that we are talking about is Zone 0, so that's anything combustible within 5 feet. So vegetation, wood deck, multiple deck. Be mindful of that. One thing we're also really restriction for is away from is mulch. But please, if you're ever going to put any mulch down, consider don't waste your money and time doing that. because we want to encourage that you take it out. There are cases where it is beneficial and it could be, you know, the best alternative, but we really want to push that bare mineral soil or a rock bed, lava rock, that type of thing, because that is that hardscape we run around the home. Same with the walking path, the stone walking path, something like that. So again, that's that house out approach. Now I'm going to kind of circle back into the slope aspects where we're talking about going beyond 100 feet. In this case, the slope runs right up to the house. So as far as a direct attack, initial attack or fire, this is the ideal area 2 stage for firefighters. Several reasons, one of which is a pretty well-maintained home. We now have the end that we worked on, or the crew that we worked together on, to do the vegetation management beyond this. Kind of meets up in the middle, overlapping for sure. And we want to encourage that as much as possible, not even just the rim, and obviously, you know, state, the country, the world is ideal to do that. We have to have that overlap where everyone's doing their part, but it takes everybody. So regarding the slope fires, it's travel much quicker up slope. So we really are going to point out, you can see here when we walk down, but you'll see that mosaic, that isolated look we look for between vegetation. So no longer do we want like tree canopies intersecting. We don't want those shrubs and ladder fills going from the ground up to the tree canopies. We want to create horizontal and vertical spacing. We'll get into that, I'll talk more about it. But we want to create that spacing so you'll see as the slope progresses, things maybe, you know, spaced out more. And that's what we really want to encourage for any project or any circumstance. There's always exceptions for the erosion that Madison mentioned earlier and stuff like that, where we really want to keep that soil stability, but having that isolation of vegetation, that separation is really important. So again, this would be the ideal spot we want to have if we're not to deal with a fire in a circumstance like this, or anywhere in this kind of setup. Another reason is because of the hydrants up here. We'll talk about that in a minute, right at the end. But also because we want to bring the hose ways, we're going to want to go down, not have to fight gravity coming up. So this is an ideal area to have that. So again, that's why we promote that house out approach, especially for something like this where there's a significant slope and pretty much any direction. Homes are above it, you have homes below it. You know, homes are pretty well spaced out down here, but again, there's vegetation concerns there. So if anything happens on that side of the district, we want to make sure that our side especially, you know, is as prepared as possible. So I think that being said, we can.
Yeah, so we'll start making our way down. One more thing I do just really want to try and highlight here. The Strobels did a great job at upgrading their vents. That is one of our most vulnerable aspects of home hardening. Upgrade your vents. When there's an ember cast, you guys have all seen those videos of LA, miles and miles of ember cast. If you do not have home hardened vents, those ember casts potentially can get in there. You're gonna have a world of hurt. That's gonna be a pre-spark under your house, and that's gonna be extremely hard to get proactively on top of that.
Exactly. So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it's a very important part. Similar to the exposed space below a deck, event like that. So this is a good. Then we don't anything that's an 1/8 inch is preferred. A lot of them, the standard was a 1/4 inch, so they are much larger. They're pretty easy to tell. There's different vents that have, you know, some are more expensive than others, but we want to encourage an 1/8 inch or less. And that goes for the same for this. Or if you have exposed space, they do a very good job of maintaining underneath it. But if you have something where there's a lot of tree canopies around and leaf litter just accumulates no matter what you do every time of the year, and pretty prevalent around here especially. Having a screen that's similar 1/8 inch mesh that would cover it from the ground up would at least, you know, so like here, would create that space for so embers don't accumulate under there. And then that's something if the firefighters had to respond, that is less concerning because now we at least know those embers aren't going to be getting in there because we have that sealed off.
Do you want it on each step, or do you want it on the bottom?
Yeah, so basically what you do is probably from here down would be a good one.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be a good start. But if you're able to do each step, that's even better. But and again, that also accounts for the slope. So if you have a slope and then there's a deck above that, you can only really go about 4 feet. We encourage more, but 4 feet is kind of the standard because anything more than that it's pretty challenging to cover that. But thank you, Matt, for bringing that up because those are critical points of the home and then the ignition potential for the home.
Are you okay with what's against the house now?
So again, the mulch stuff like that we want to try and get out. The vegetation is pretty well spaced out. Where it is a little more concerning is if you had vegetation like that all around the home, especially to the critical points, so windows and vents, and then as well as unenclosed eaves, like this type of thing right here. So they open up those pockets that traps heat because the heat rises. or smoke rises. So we want to try, if there is any vegetation, at least for now, if you're planting, you're landscaping, try and keep it spaced out as much as possible like that. Again, within 5 feet, as much as you could do to just remove anything that's combustible would be best for everyone, because it's kind of going that direction, especially more so now. So keep that in mind when we talk about the house out approach. That first 5 feet, as much as possible, hardscape, rock bed, gravel, that type of good stuff. Okay. All right, and the vents are important.
Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, we'll keep moving down the stairs. If anyone doesn't want to continue, we do have representatives that can take you guys back up the stairs. Bridget and Marshall will be able to answer any questions if anyone does not want to continue. So now is your chance. If you'd like to continue, we will continue down along this way. But if you guys don't want to go, just tap one of us on the shoulder and we'll be able to take you back up. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Raising it down a little closer to past that. And you're starting to push into So everything that we worked on, everything that we are looking at today was privately owned HOA space. So while our partners are here, we are not looking at any of the Marin County Parks lands or Town of Tiburon lands, just to be abundantly clear for everyone. So we wanted to bring you guys to this spot. It's a really kind of good area to get into the weeds here, for lack of better terms, for you guys to see what we were doing. When we started this project, you could not see past this strip line from any of the homes. And just like Austin said, we were able to reduce a lot of the ladder fuels that would otherwise carry fire from the grounds to the trees, and would, in a wind event, really, really be that factor that has the ember cap going through, up to miles, like we're seeing in Los Angeles, right? So we were able to come in through here, break up the coyote shrub. We were able to take out some of these volunteer pine trees, and really, you can see through now. If there's a fire down here, it's going to skunk around. We won't see rapid fire spread per se. Really, really important to point out here, these pile of sticks, they were left on purpose. If anyone does not know what these are, they are called wood rat's nests. They are a protected species, and this is just one of the focuses that we take in our project to make sure that we are not steamrolling over the environment. We have to make sure that these protected species and native species, whether it's fauna, animals, people, anyone, we want to make sure that everyone has, consideration here in our project. Sure.
How is this particular net being safer from wildfire than, say, others?
So before we were able to do our treatment here, what we saw was not only more of the pine trees, and when these are growing up, they're really, really shrubby, so they're, flashier fuels, easy to light. We're also seeing a lot of blackberry that was dead and a lot of broom. Again, that broom is going to be that invasive species that we see put up really high flame rates. The broom was going up into here, which it very much was, and there was a fire, we spread it into the trees, and then we would have a bit of an issue in terms of rapid fire spread. So what we were able to do, while we're not going to clear this out, we cleared around it so that if there is a start, it's not going to, per se, explode. Like a lot of people are seeing with some...
Or was it mechanical?
Sorry about what?
Mechanical or hand treatment?
So this was all hand treatment. The mechanical only happened when we were limbing up the trees. So to get the actual, you're not seeing it here, but some of the larger trees, you'll see that we did take some of those lower lying branches to create that healthy spacing vertically.
Yeah, a lot of the work was by hand. That's why it took a little longer, especially with the rain. The rain's good because the soil's soft, so the broom pulling, SMK, Source were very hard. I checked pretty much every day. They were under pulling the broom by hand. We'll talk a little bit about that, but as Matt mentioned, there's different treatment areas, different approaches, but we try to do as much as possible by hand and with that in mind. But yeah, cutting chainsaws, that we have to, it's the most efficient and we get a lot more done. So.
And just to get,
have you taken a lot of stuff off? What do you do?
So for for broom removal particularly, we do not ship that on site. We don't want the seed bank to continue to exist here. We want to haul all of that off. If we're having a little bit heavier timber, we will, especially in areas where we see more erosion, we will chip on site to help keep not only the seed bank down, but just general erosion. The chips are going to help if we have a big rain event, and we don't want to see all the hillsides sliding down. The chips are really, really crucial to help with that. But for the invasive species, we haul those off.
Is all that you do manually
It is extremely laborious work, yes.
You have a good video that I'll send around, and then I know Ann has a good question probably to come up, so I'll send this around. But the video basically shows like the rope that they use, and they'll pull up. They have a winch that pulls it up.
Yeah, this video is from essentially the opposite side of the fuel break. This fuel break, ends here at our district boundary, goes all the way to the 101. We have a full perimeter around Tiburon, in the Strawberry area that's established. So this video is in another section of our fuel break, but really kind of highlights those elements. While we're kind of talking about environmental compliance, we do like to really hammer in as well that anything that we do during bird nesting season is prefaced with a bird survey. We understand what species is in the area, what species are nesting, especially given the protected species. We create our healthy buffers, or wait until the season is over and we come back. There is a red-tailed hawk that lives in this area. She's actively building her, augmenting her nest for the season, and so you guys might see her flying around. Those, that we consider them friends, and we do make our projects work with them. We coexist healthily together. Ann, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to know, the vast majority of the work that's happening all around Marin is hand crews going in on foot, doing work, with sometimes chainsaws, mechanized, things like that. But hauling things out by hand, it is extremely labor intensive. We're also trying to have a light touch and light footprint on the landscape. So, some of the projects you see around California with big mass paving and things like that, that's extremely rare Marin. And then I also want to note with the wood rat nests are left in all of our project areas. Wood rats are great food for spotted owl and other species. They're also a health hazard, so no crew is going to go, I'm going to go take out that wood rat nest. It's a health hazard. You don't want to remove a wood rat nest without a hazmat suit and a mask, respirator, etc. So they remain on the landscape. Crews are just fine with that. Other thoughts?
Are they left despite the distance they are from homes, or are they pushed to a certain level away from the homes?
No, they're left unless otherwise
Yes, and they're actually generational, so that's probably been there for quite some time. Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's a good point, especially like on the defensible space side, if there's a lot of ivy and stuff like that. Most likely it happens when you have just years of growth that has been untouched. So that's another big proponent of why we want to maintain things before it gets out of hand, because when things are going to accumulate, and now you have that. I mean, obviously, yes, 100% we want to coexist, but when they are close to homes, or I don't know how long it's been there, but when they are close to homes, we want to try and maintain as much as possible. So I'm big on pushing to get rid of ivy because it tends to have rats and mice in it. So if nothing else, if you don't even care about the fire, I know everyone here does, but if fire wasn't concerned, then the animals tend to be. So that is an example of it. It happens.
Do you ever use burn piles?
Throughout the county, we do have strategic burn piles. With Southern Marin, we do have a little bit of a unique issue in regards to our landscape versus, Central Marin or maybe County Fire, where they have a lot more open space. We don't see as much grasslands like they have. Some of the mid-story and understory with our forest, we're just not quite there yet. We're actively working, especially kind of in Mill Valley, to be able to find scenarios in which healthy prescribed burns would be appropriate, and we will be following suit once we're there. But we're trying to get some of this stuff dialed in first in order to safely execute.
Is this over there? That's not your part of your? Is that Mill Valley?
Correct.
I mean, where is that?
So our jurisdiction ends here, which is about a quarter of the town of Tiburon. So we get a lot of the unincorporated area. The drainage is kind of the best visual to see where that boundary is. It's not exactly on that drainage, but it is a good kind of visual indicator. Where the other side of that is run and maintained by, of course, whether it's privately owned or what have you. It's the Tiburon Fire District.
But Tiburon's not part of NWPA.
Correct. So we do
they
see a little bit of a challenge.
They maintain it themselves.
We've been trying to work with them kind of collaboratively to get that going. We definitely see it as a challenge. We do have residents coming and asking if we can continue further as it is. We just simply, we have guardrails on, so we do have to stop at our district boundary. But we are hoping that it can potentially open up some healthy conversations with Tiburon and maybe one day they can join.
And with that note, it's pretty obvious, but fire doesn't know the boundary, between. So that's one thing here in Marin County, especially. I will say, just by seeing, the last year and a half, almost 2 years I've been here, the partnerships is pretty impressive. It is very impressive. It's probably leading for, if not the state and the country, as far as the partnerships, because a lot of areas, you could go like within the district and people may not even, in that fire district, depending where you go, may not even work together on those boundaries. So here, I think everyone has a very good understanding and is working towards that, getting better and better. But that is just part of the challenge of it is it's coming after the fact, after these boundaries are already made, after the original intentions of the fire district. So yes, fire doesn't know the boundary, and we're all very aware of that. And we're all trying really hard to, if nothing else, work together. Here, there's a pretty cohesive group that works together on that. But it's like anything, it's growing. It has to grow and develop to get to that level. But this is a great start and this is a great example. This is why, like Madison said, not only is it one of the most accessible, despite the steep slope that we're coming down, the most accessible area to go. It shows, we are at the back end of the boundary where the partnerships are growing. Go in any direction for any district, that's just how it is.
And to highlight, Tiburon's inspector did get sick today, unfortunately had to go home, but we were going to have them as well. We do have a great partnership. We do help aid in any vegetation management projects that they have. Their biggest hedge program through their district is actually, they have community chipper events down at Black Pasture between May and September. It's the second Saturday of every month. I'm always there. Austin's usually there. The guys from Tiburon are there. Anything that they can do for residents to kind of help assist that, any field management that they're doing on their properties, bring it down, we'll take care of it for you, free of charge. So that's kind of their biggest initiative. Well, not having the funding of MWPA, but we are actively kind of searching to see if there's anything we can do, whether it's a grant or what have you, to try and continue this work, because they also see what should be done.
They've also got the totally volunteer green team that just pulls broom from all your open space. They have multiple weekends to get a bunch of volunteers out.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really highlight volunteer work, you guys, it's always great to give back. So anything that we can do to try to help, it really does go a long way.
Is this all done on public property, or is this now are we in HOA?
This is privately owned HOA that we're all walking in.
So how does that sort of work in terms of risks and working with HOAs?
Yeah, the relationships can be very nuanced from every, scenario. Indian Rock has been very, very open to the work. They've been really collaborative. They made it really easy from the start to be able to, make these relationships and build on them. This HOA in particular has been really great about matching what we do. So if we're here in January and we're doing our work, they're going to be out here in June doing the same thing with Forester and Kroger to make sure, like we said, that organic approach of just coming in here, hammering out the work, and continuing to do it. Because if we don't come back for another 2 years, yeah, you're gonna be looking at the same exact thing we had in 2021 when we started this project. Which, if there were a fire, like Austin said, fire doesn't know boundaries. We were gonna see a lot of rapid fire spread versus now treated. We will be able to, really see some access points and be able to stop it.
And I just want to note, kind of put an exclamation point behind Madison's comment that whenever we propose and approve a shaded fuel break, we're committing to that shaded fuel break through the amount of time that we can, which is 10 years for Measure C, and so we will renew and come back and continue maintaining the shaded fuel breaks. But no shaded fuel break or veg management project is a one and done activity. You need to go through every couple of years and maintain that project. And hopefully over time the costs are reduced because you're catching that broom before it gets really big, and so it's easier to go in and remove a smaller field of broom at the time. Hopefully you're depleting the sea bank a little bit. But it's a commitment. It's a commitment for us and all of our agencies to go in over and over and commit to that green infrastructure for wildfire resilience. And so that's something to keep in mind, again, as Measure C or whatever letter it is comes back to voters in Marin in a few years.
Absolutely. To just build on that as well, to give you guys some context, our initial pass-through took about 5 weeks to do this area. Our maintenance this year took 10 days. So we're going from, with rain delays. We're talking 40 days of work versus 10. It saves so much money. It saves so much time, so we can also allocate our resources to our other projects. We have about 20 other projects going on. We've spent more than $3 million in the last year between MWPA, grant funding, and our internal sources to get vegetation management dialed in this district. So we just really want you guys to know that if it's not here, it's somewhere else. We're doing everything that we can around the clock. So with that said, we can kind of keep moving. We'll just kind of keep continuing this way. Once we get past these tree lines, it's going to be a little easier to see that district boundary, to see where we are not treating the areas. We were looking at on this whole hillside, the entire hillside. It was Pride of Madera, the greenery behind you here, growing into broom all the way up the hillside.
So
into the trees, up to the ridge. So it took a big effort to get that down.
So as you see, yeah, so we take it out, but then it'll grow back just as quick. Not to that height as long as it's maintained. So that's where, as Ann and Madison kept emphasizing, we have to do a consistent approach and educate as many people as possible to really keep up on that, because it's, not just our district, everywhere it is a lot to maintain, a lot of resources, a lot of projects going on all at the same time, and certain times of year that you can't really do much on it. So it is a consistent check that we have to do. Our goal is to never let anywhere that we've touched let it get back to that point, as long as we're involved and as long as we have the resources to help, and as long as we work together on it, from the neighbors around you and the fire department assisting as much as possible. We have really good resources that are available that can help with, even just working on your own end. So the chipper programs that come around. So the Marine Fire has a chipper request that operates annually. So all year round you could request that. These are all good resources that we do have. But yeah, and to circle back, so like this side, as Madison mentioned earlier, is on our district. Trust me, we wish we could go as far as possible so we can do that approach on both sides. I think this is a good point where we've seen all the work that's been done here over the last couple of years. That Tiburon can look at it and would like to replicate it, and there's definitely some great staff over there would be really happy to do that. So
yeah, that cluster of coyote shrub and Pride of Madera over there is a really good example of what this looked like before we started. That was growing right into groves of broom and growing right into tree canopies. That's exactly how we see a fire on the ground go up to a tree. So we were able to eradicate that for the most part.
And I know, like 1.2, and I heard it asked a few times why certain trees were left or certain ones were just limbed up. There's a lot of factors for that, but I mean, one's the erosion concern. We don't want to just moonscape and take the hillside out. We want to have vegetation there, but that's where it goes back to that horizontal, vertical spacing between plants. There is that expectation that forward slope it will be spaced out even greater. In this case, the vegetation you have back here, it's still pretty clustered. It's very dense. It needs spacing, but at least there's a separation. It's not underneath tree canopies. So this area, if you look over here where you have branches that are right down to the ground, that's where you want the 6 to 10 foot spacing. Ideally, actually 10 or more because of the slope. But you also have to look at the overall tree health. We're not in the business of just taking out healthy trees unless we absolutely have to, or if they're going to compete with each other to grow. But you want to have that spacing where it won't get into the tree canopy. So for smaller trees, it's probably hard because you couldn't see it as where we were standing, or blocked a little bit. But there are a lot of smaller trees we didn't want to take out. You just cut a third of the tree, and ideally that tree health will stay where in a good progression. As the tree grows, then you cut more. But we don't want to necessarily top trees. We just want to prune from the ground up, create that clearance.
And the 6 to 8 feet, are you talking about between or vertically?
Yeah, so think about, so I'm a little over 6 foot, so imagine if I just went and stood by the tree, you want to at least have my head down to the ground, cut.
So you're talking about limbing up?
Yeah, limbing up. But,
not 6 foot of limbing on an 8 foot tree, of course.
Yes.
You're looking at about a third.
Yeah.
You want to leave 2/3 of the canopy.
Yeah, again, that goes back to that third of the tree. And then think about it too, not to give you too many measurements and stuff, because you don't have to look at it. We don't go out with a tape measure, by the way, and do this. But you look at it, so say those shrubs, the coyote brush, everything over there is right underneath the tree. You want to have that, there's that expectation that you have 3 times the spacing between the top of the shrub and the lowest branch of the tree. It's not really feasible in a lot of it, because if you have a small tree and you have a shrub that's half that height, you can't get that 3 foot spacing, or that 3 times that spacing. But we want to try as much as possible. There is science behind it, and there's research that shows why we have that spacing the way it is. So again, that was just a good example to show, and there's pictures that we had passed around that show like those branches down to the ground, and you have quick flashy fields that is dry grass, and you have something as fire prone as broom all around it. That is a perfect example of what we want to get rid of. So yeah, I think.
How far is your district that way?
So we've got, in regards to our district here, it kind of splits up the ridgeline, but just to give you guys more context, right up to that big pine tree is the privately owned HOA. You get Marin County Parks after that. And then we actually kind of, the ridge line itself is where we kind of split and share with Corte Madera. So, you know, we saw an incident about a year ago, and Corte Madera was the responding agency first, just because that was a little bit further than the real fight. Kind of the last thing we really wanted to circle back on you guys with and just talk about is, you know, if you can imagine a fire starting down here without treatment, we don't have any immediately adjacent fire roads. We don't have any immediately adjacent access points. For us to be able to lay progressively, to even have our crews come in here on foot, they're gonna have to be hiking in from one way or the other. So being able to treat this here buys us time to get in and buys everyone else time to get out. That's the biggest thing that we focus on in these projects. We're trying to stop the rapid spread of fire.
And this area is a really good example of how we wish all the roads would look. You know, they're very far spaced out. Not like parking other than today because of us being here, but parking, you know, they're pretty accessible for sure. There's a great turnaround, hydrants. So that's what we want. And then the homes themselves are doing a really good job of keeping up on the defensible space side of it. So that's another big reason why we do encourage the house out approach, because if you start, you know, your home and you create that defensible space, there's a greater chance that they can access through there and create those roadways. Quickly address the fire from that point rather than having to find a way to get in here. This is the example we're talking about, but just to get down to where the fire may be at. I don't know what's that.
I don't know if there's any more work to be done.
Yeah, the grazing, yeah.
So I want to add just really quickly a reminder that, you know, one of the things that we do, one of the first things that I took on when I started at Marin Wildfire was to develop the environmental compliance program. Some of the folks who helped with that are here today, so feel free to jump in. But, you know, one starting point was working with our environmental community and hearing what concerns were, what ideas were around vegetation management and other types of projects. So the Ecologically Sound Practices Partnership came up with a list of thoughts and ideas and recommendations around vegetation management. So we had that in hand as we built our environmental compliance program. Our consultants, Panorama, who's here, and we have a biologist through Sequoia, helped us develop a full suite of what we call project design and implementation features, PDIS. It's another acronym. This world is full of acronyms. I apologize. Think of them like best management practices. We took a look at what county parks was doing, state parks, national parks, what other folks in the region were doing, and pulled from the various environmental programs, including those, pulled from there some of the practices that we felt should be baked into all of our projects. So all of our projects incorporate a suite of these best management practices, this PDIS. And it involves, you know, bird surveys and, you know, considerations for native plants and rare plants, spotted owl, wood rat nests, things that we are not required to do, but we do because they're good practices. We want to take those and implement those and just have them to normalize that kind of stewardship as part of all of our projects, so that all of our projects are beneficial to the extent that they can be. And a lot of them are really non-native plant removal projects. That's the vast majority of the work that we're doing. We're weeding the landscape and encouraging native plants to grow. So all of that, you know, gets baked into our environmental compliance process. All of these projects that you see here and elsewhere in Marin have been through multiple project or public meetings. They've been proposed as part of our work plan development process every year. We are working on that process now for next fiscal year's work plan. So all of those draft proposals for projects and programs will be posted to our website, marinwildfire.org. You can take a look at them. They're not up yet for next year because they haven't been drafted yet, but they're in process. We're working with member agencies to come up with kind of our to-do list for next fiscal year. That will involve a lot of maintenance of existing projects, but maybe some new projects as well. So those get posted on the website. They get discussed at the staff level in our working group called the Advisory Technical Committee. They just get discussed at the Operations Committee, and actually seeing managers and fire chiefs in public meetings, talking through these issues, talking big picture strategy, reviewing what ask the hard questions about what we're doing and why. Why was this cut and this not cut? We want transparency. We want no surprises. Once projects are being implemented out in the field, that should not be your first time hearing about this project. This should be old news, with so many different opportunities to engage in the process along the way. We've got a lot of expertise in our stakeholders and folks like you, and we want to use it and we want to hear from you. So thank you all to everybody who contributed. You have a question?
Yeah, I heard the comment about fire hydrants, so it brought a thought to my mind. Last week there was a story on one of the local news that talked about cisterns in San Francisco. So they had the 1906 earthquake and they ran out of water, and that was part of the problem with why the fire spread so badly there. And I've always noticed that I kind of grew up in San Francisco. They've had these intersections where they have these red bricks in a big circle, and these intersections scattered throughout the city. And I always wondered what those bricks were.
Cisterns.
And it was cisterns. And what they do is they have an independent set of fire hydrants that are not linked to the water main. These hydrants are linked just to the cisterns, and they're different colors. They're like black, red, or blue top, depending on which neighborhood it is. And so, like I heard about Pacific Palisades, they ran out of water because they ran out of water. So I was wondering, the hydrants here, are they connected to the main, or are they connected to the water cisterns that we have up on the hill? I was just wondering if there's that redundancy in water.
That is probably a unique historic feature of San Francisco that we don't have here. All the water tanks that are stored here, unless a local like HOA or community has their own privately installed tanks, which there are a couple of those that are in existence throughout the southern Marin area, so not just out here, but everything is connected and fed back from those main tanks. And then the water district has pump stations in place that provide water from their reservoirs to go back to those tanks that fill those up. So that's how our very kind of basic mindset how our systems are set up.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, the hydrants running to Brian, it's not a new story. It's a lot of demand on the system. There are water tanks. I think there were 3 1 million gallon water tanks in the area of Pacific Palisades that ran dry just because you can't refill them as quickly as the water is getting used. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, when a house burns down, all those water pipes are running. There's nothing to stop that water from running just into the foundation and underneath the system. So it's a complex problem, and more water storage in some places may help here and there, but in conditions like that, with 100-mile-an-hour winds, mostly we just get people out of the way in the moment. But yeah, it's a great question.
Do we get any protection from downtown with offshore ocean breezes like they don't in Southern California? Because the ocean is right there. We have this hill here. Or
That's a good question. I think there might be somebody in the audience who could help talk about wind direction and the effect of Mount Tam in terms of potentially shadowing some areas. Can anybody else address that question? Scott or John, you guys have some insight on that?
Personally, just for better context, we see the Diablo winds coming from offshore onto sorry, excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied. With the Santa Ana winds, you're seeing them come from the foothills down to the water. So they generally blow in different directions. So when you're seeing the trend, if you're kind of on the water's edge down in LA, you're seeing that full, there's really not been anything to stop that wind. So it's just going to be full force. Versus like you're saying with Mount Tam, it does generally break them up. A lot of the U lines up there were made as wind screens. So kind of maintaining that balance of healthy wind screens versus, eucalyptus, which obviously we all know at this point rapidly can spread fire. We're talking two kind of generally different directions here. But we do see just as much of wind tunnels as they see in the Santa Anas with the upper winds. So in terms of, relative threats, we still battle the same issues.
When we do modeling, we take a look at a couple of different wind scenarios, and there's the typical wind scenario that's probably relevant 60 to 70% of the time, and that's phenomenon. And so that can often, because of the way the wind moves across mountains and compresses and gets warm and dry, that can really dry out vegetation and can be sustained long enough to really make an impact in terms of fuel and moisture and how the vegetation will burn on the landscape. That air can then go out over the ocean, sit there for a little while, still be really dry, and then return back onto the land from the ocean to the land, then running west to east, and also be very hazardous. So when we do our modeling, our risk modeling, we've got a lot of different contractors taking a look at how where the risk is, how fire would move across the landscape according to these different kind of general wind scenarios, what kind of vegetation there is on the landscape, how the terrain might line up with those different wind events. And then we use that data, all the latest data that we can get our hands on, to try to predict where the risk is and where we can make an impact. So it may be, one of the things that we're working on with Scott Farley here in the just behind you is pathways modeling. So how would fire move across the landscape given different wind scenarios, fuel, terrain, vegetation type, and et cetera, and where does that line up with our communities and our existing projects on the map already, and where can we make it impact, either through vegetation management or through additional home hardening and defensible space in key neighborhoods, et cetera. So one of the things that we're doing right now is taking those models and tools that have been in development for the last couple of years with externally and internally partners. We've done a lot of work with this modeling, taking a look at roads and where the risk is and due to what variables. We've got a map of roads in Marin County with estimated risk levels for evacuation. And incorporating all that great data and science and helping inform our project planning. So, the nitty-gritty of, okay, given this tool and this tool and this tool, what does that tell us about where taxpayer dollars should go for the biggest impact? We're actively working on that right now and thinking about, we've got $22 million a year. That's still going to feel like not enough. There is never going to be enough to do all the things that we really like to do. So how do we make the best decisions to use taxpayer dollars to reduce risk to the most people moving forward? Where do we maintain every year versus every 5? Are there new polygons that should probably be on the map? So it starts a really interesting and complex conversation around that. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more on January 23rd at our operations committee meeting. So, join us for that if you'd like. But other thoughts? My answer was maybe wordy, but maybe not complete. Anybody else want to contribute to that before we've done another question? Go ahead.
It's a curiosity question beyond just vegetation prevention of today. We've seen on the TV all the aviation fire suppression. In here, for like the Bay Area, Marin County, what triggers planes and helicopters and airdrops of water, what triggers it here? Who has to make that decision and at what level? And what's our capacity here, Jake? 1 plane, 2 planes, 10 planes? I mean, what do we have? How does that work?
I can chime in on that a little bit. So Marin County is a unique county, and there's only one other county in all of the states that doesn't have CAL FIRE specific represented stations and agents or officers or fire officials, however you want to look at it, in the county. We are a contract county. That does a few key things for us. One, it gives, if you want to think of it like CAL FIRE state entity, it gives our fire officials, our Marin County fire chiefs and everyone else a seat kind of more at the table in those quick decision-making moments. So what that is that basically we don't, Marin County Fire doesn't actually have aircraft per se. They may, and I know they're advancing in the last years, kind of change a little bit of that each year, but what they are effectively, if you see Marin County Fire on a logo of an engine, you might as well see CAL FIRE. They are a contract County with CAL FIRE, which gives us that immediate ability to request those resources within the same framework across the state as CAL FIRE. So when you're talking about like what are our aircrafts, what are our numbers, those would be the same numbers that you'd get from like a CAL FIRE representative talking about what CAL FIRE's response times are. I know CAL FIRE stands behind, they try and keep every fire under, I think it's under 10 acres is the last time I'd heard. They're very proactive. They'll put aircraft on it as quick as possible. The Blackhawks that the state purchased, again, they go into the CAL FIRE arsenal. That falls into our similar arsenal because we're a contract county. So I can't dive nearly as deep as Mark Brown can or the rest of the county chiefs in Marin County, but being a contract county is a very unique element, and it gives us a lot of benefits to having that. One thing I'll also say, if you compare, if for some reason we were to experience fire similar to like what happened in Santa Rosa, when you look at Santa Rosa, they don't really have many resources to the north of them. They have nothing to the west, and there's really not much coming from the east. Everything's coming from the south, and everything was funneling up through, kind of funneling off the 101 corridor. So there's a significant delay to get to, not a significant delay, but just that much more of a challenge, a lot more land to travel in order to get to that Santa Rosa neighborhoods quickly and promptly. Again, lots of lessons learned have come from that fire since then. We're unique. We have bridges coming from every direction. Obviously, we still have that westerly problem. There's a big ocean there that doesn't really help us, but what that does is it provides a nice big moist fuel break in that direction at least. As long as we can count on our resources coming from the north, the south, and the east, we are strategically positioned in a better spot. It doesn't take any ability to prepare our homes for defensible space or conduct field management to do widespread fuel breaks to slow down that fire. We still want to buy as much time as possible to get additional resources to us. We still pre-position resources so that when we know these fires are coming, we're pulling back more staff, we're putting them out on the line. I don't think we did for recent wind events, but all the wind events we had in the last 4 months, we had additional resources staffed up. Everything that held water and had wheels and a pump had people in it. They were pushed out throughout the county, and the state does that as well. So I don't have the numbers that you're specifically asking for, but there's definitely a lot of momentum and push. And unfortunately, whenever we have these fires, we learn a lot from them, and then we bring that back and we find those areas that we can double down and to make that bigger impact where we can. And I'm guessing it's going to have the same outcome. So hopefully that gives you enough to what you're asking about.
And I would just add, we do have that airport in Sonoma County, which serves as a base, and so we're very lucky. They're just a few minutes away.
Which was impacted during the Tubbs fire. It couldn't launch because it was too close. So again, we're strategically approached. There's air bases north, south, and east of us that if we were experiencing it, they could come to our aid or would come to our aid pretty quickly.
Do you know how many planes they have?
I don't know the numbers, but yeah.
So the Santa Rosa, the CAL FIRE at Santa Rosa Airport has one air attack, and they have 2 air tankers.
Just a few minutes.
Any other questions? All right, well, thanks for coming out today, guys. We were definitely not expecting such a good turnout, so thank you. Really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. It goes without saying, you guys can contact myself, Austin, Marshall, Bridget, anytime. We are always here to help. If we're not on duty, we will respond when we are back on duty, but we are always here to help you guys answer any questions you have. And if anybody has questions specifically surrounding defensible space inspections or wants to sign up for anything, please connect with one of us before you leave. We'll make sure that we get you on the books.
We need a group up the stairs, back up the stairs.
Yeah, we're gonna go right back the way we came, so this kind of wraps everything up. So any questions, lingering, sign ups, we'll do it up on the street.
Thank you.